Survival. It's a word that conjures images of both isolation and intensity, of being pushed to your absolute limits. It's more than braving the wild. It's a mindset, a way of thinking that separates those who make it from those who don't. Whether you're lost in a forest, stranded on a mountain, or facing an enemy on the battlefield, the core challenge is the same: endure, adapt, overcome. Every environment, no matter how different, demands resilience and quick thinking. In the wild, your enemy is nature itself, unpredictable, relentless, and indifferent to your struggle. In war, it's a determined adversary, one who thinks, plans, and adapts just as you do. Both test the limits of human endurance and demand resourcefulness, creativity, and the ability to improvise under pressure. Panic is the real killer, no matter the setting. The mind can be your greatest ally or your worst enemy. History's greatest survival story? King Leonidas and his 300 Spartans at Thermopylae, a tale of courage that has inspired generations. They faced impossible odds, not in the wilderness, but at a crucial pass that would decide their nation's fate. Their stand was not just about holding ground, but about holding on to hope. Their stand was a masterclass in strategy, courage, and the power of the human spirit to defy the impossible. The lessons from the hot gates are timeless. Survival is about what you're willing to fight for and what you refuse to surrender. It's about leadership in chaos, making the hardest calls when everything's at stake, and inspiring others to stand firm. Leonidas and his men fought for more than themselves. They fought for their families, their culture, and their freedom. Their sacrifice was a message to all who would come after. Their struggle reminds us that the will to survive, when driven by purpose, can echo through history, showing us that true survival is about meaning, not just endurance. To truly understand Leonidas, you must first understand the world that shaped him, Sparta itself. Sparta was a society built with a single purpose: to forge warriors of unmatched discipline and strength. From the age of 7, every Spartan boy entered the agoge, a brutal and relentless training system designed to toughen both body and mind, stripping away weakness and forging resilience. Hunger, pain, and hardship were daily lessons. Every challenge was a test of endurance and willpower. They learned stealth and discipline, survival skills that would one day mean the difference between life and death on the battlefield. Leonidas wasn't born to rule. He was the third son, enduring the agoge like any other Spartan, with no special treatment or royal privilege. He earned respect through shared hardship, forging bonds with his peers in the fires of adversity. This experience created an unbreakable brotherhood. With the men he would one day lead into battle. Fate intervened. His older brothers died, and Leonidas, once unlikely to rule, became king of Sparta. He was a warrior shaped by the harshest school on earth, uniquely prepared for the storm gathering in the east, where the Persian threat loomed ever larger. Not just a king by blood, but a leader by merit. Leonidas commanded loyalty because he had lived as one of his men. The agoge didn't just create soldiers, it created men ready to face annihilation for a greater cause, to stand together against impossible odds. Leonidas was the embodiment of that ideal, a king forged in hardship, destined to become a legend. In the early 5th century BC, the Persian Empire was a superpower, stretching from India to Egypt. Its king, Xerxes, sought to avenge his father's defeat and crush Greece. The Greeks, divided but fiercely independent, stood for ideas, freedom, citizenship that threatened Persian rule. Xerxes assembled the largest invasion force the world had seen, demanding submission from all. Many Greek states surrendered, but a few, led by Athens and Sparta, chose to resist. They formed a fragile alliance, knowing their culture and future hung in the balance. Sparta, the military leader, looked to Leonidas to face the storm. This was more than a battle for land. It was a fight for the soul of Western civilization. The stage was set for a clash that would shape history. The Greeks knew they couldn't win in open battle. their only hope find terrain that neutralized Persian numbers. Thermopylae, the hot gates, was the perfect choke point. Mountains on one side, sea on the other, a narrow pass in between. Here a small force could hold back a giant army. Leonidas positioned his men at the narrowest point, forming an impenetrable wall of shields and spears. The Persians would be forced into a brutal head-on fight. The plan: use the terrain to bleed the Persians and shatter their morale. But there was a hidden danger, a secret mountain path that could outflank the Greeks. Leonidas stationed allies to guard it, knowing the entire defense depended on holding both front and rear. Leonidas marched north with 300 Spartans, his elite bodyguard, each man chosen for his strength, courage, and unwavering loyalty. These were not just soldiers, but fathers and brothers, prepared to lay down their lives for Greece. Along the way, their numbers swelled as warriors from other Greek city-states joined them, united by a common cause. The force became a symbol of Greek resistance, a patchwork of free men standing together. They rebuilt the ancient Phocian wall, fortifying the narrow pass at Thermopylae. This wall would become their shield, a barrier against the vast Persian army. Xerxes, confident in his overwhelming numbers, waited, expecting the Greeks to flee in terror. But the Greeks stood firm, their resolve unbroken. The Persians attacked in relentless waves, but the Greeks' discipline, superior weapons, and tight phalanx formation turned the pass into a slaughterhouse. The narrow terrain favored the defenders. The Spartans fought in rotation, switching out the front lines so no man grew weary. They were always ready, always fresh, a wall of bronze and determination. Persian numbers meant nothing in the tight confines of the pass. The sheer mass of their army became a disadvantage, trapping them in chaos. On the second day, Xerxes unleashed his immortals, his elite troops, famed across the empire for their skill and ferocity. Even they failed to break the Greek line. The defenders held fast, their shields locked, their spears unyielding. The Spartans used cunning tactics, feigning retreats to lure Persians into deadly traps, striking with precision and discipline. By nightfall, the ground was littered with Persian dead, a grim testament to the defenders' skill and bravery. The morale of Xerxes' army plummeted as fear and doubt spread through the ranks. Against all odds, the few were defeating the many. The legend of Thermopylae was being forged in blood and fire. The world watched as a legend was born at Thermopylae, a story that would echo through the ages, but the battle was far from over. The greatest test still lay ahead for Leonidas and his men. The Greek defense was working, until betrayal struck. A local named Ephialtes revealed the secret mountain path to Xerxes, seeking reward. Guided by Ephialtes, Persian immortals slipped behind the Greek lines at night. Leonidas had stationed Phocian allies to guard the path, but they were surprised and retreated, leaving the way open. The Greeks were now trapped, Persians in front, immortals behind. The choke point became a death trap. Runners brought Leonidas the grim news at dawn. The strategic advantage was lost. Escape was impossible. The only choice left was how to face the end. The fate of the defenders was sealed by a single act of treachery. In survival, sometimes the greatest threat comes from within. The final act at Thermopylae was about to begin. Surrounded and outnumbered, panic swept the Greek camp. Most allies wanted to retreat, but Leonidas saw a greater purpose. He ordered the bulk of the army to withdraw, saving them for future battles. He and his 300 Spartans, joined by 700 Thespians, chose to stay. Their stand would buy time and inspire Greece. As Persians attacked from both sides, the defenders fought with unmatched ferocity. Spears broke, swords shattered. They fought with bare hands. Leonidas fell at the front, his men fighting desperately to protect his body. The last survivors made a final stand on a small hill, refusing to surrender. They were overwhelmed by arrows, dying to the last man. Their sacrifice became legend, a symbol of duty, courage, and defiance. The hot gates ran red, but the spirit of resistance was unbroken. Thermopylae's legacy was just beginning. Thermopylae was a defeat, but its impact was seismic. The sacrifice of Leonidas and his men united Greece and inspired resistance. Their story spread, turning despair into defiance. The Greek navy, emboldened, crushed the Persians at Salamis. A year later, united Greek forces ended Xerxes' invasion at Plataea. The freedom of Greece was secured thanks to the stand at Thermopylae. Leonidas teaches us that true leadership means sharing risk and leading from the front. Courage is acting for a cause greater than oneself, even in the face of certain death. The Spartans' discipline and sacrifice show that survival is about more than living. It's about living with honor. Their legacy endures, a blueprint for courage in the face of overwhelming odds.